I'm really serious. I think that's a good idea.
Just talking? Well, what's the show about?
It's about nothing.
No story?
No, forget the story.
You gotta have a story.
Who says you gotta have a story?
Some men aren't looking for anything logical, like money. Some men just want to watch the world burn.
Instead, only try to realize the truth. There is no spoon.
There is no spoon.
I'll tell you what it's worth. Not a damn thing. It's a waste of time.
What up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Frivolous Fandom with Mike and Kev.
Ah, yes. Welcome. And this week... what are you laughing at?
You made a hand gesture.
Oh, sorry.
And it was funny.
Again, I don't know why we don't do videos since we're on YouTube now. But anyways, this week it is just Mike and Kev. Flying this one solo like
you are
the good
stuck with us.
yeah, right. No escape. We're doing this the good old-fashioned way, the way it started out. And this week, Mike, we're actually going to do our pre-segment.
Yes, we are.
We discussed that and said it was a thing.
We remembered.
Yeah, right.
We remembered this time.
And then we got a little excited when Andrew was here for the last episode and didn't do it.
I mean, who could
we did the
us?
Dragon Ball Z thing, but that wasn't a strict pre-segment.
You know what? I mean, really, that kind of was a pre-segment. Okay, so we did a pre-segment.
We did a pre-segment.
Unannounced.
Unannounced and
like an Easter egg pre-segment. But you know what? Today, we're actually going to cover ours, and ours are combat sports.
Yeah, so we said we were doing sports. We're going to talk about combat sports, and this is actually more broad than you're going to expect, but it's also...
competitive events in which one person or thing hurts the other. That's what we're doing right now.
Right, so let's get started off with the combat sport, Mike. What are we here to talk about?
Battle bots.
Oh, I thought we were talking about Ronda Rousey.
Oh, we'll get to that.
Okay, we'll get to Ronda Rousey. Okay, so we want to talk about, I like where you went with that. The combat sport, battle bots, baby. Actually, the only sport where you can murder the other person.
Where it's actually encouraged.
I mean, like...
And
MMA,
it's ethical.
You're right. MMA, you can dislodge joints and mangle them in all manners, but actual murder...
Actually, we'll attack it onto the Ronda, but actually that's frowned upon, and there's something that happened recently that'll highlight that, but we'll keep going.
Okay, I get where you're going with that now, but when you first mentioned it, I was like, did you need to inform them that murder was frowned upon in MMA?
Oh, no, the joints being displaced.
Right. Well, sometimes it's like, you don't mean to, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
But, Mike, BattleBots is the jams.
Oh, it's so sick.
And it's funny because when I show it to people, it's almost always, or it has been, I shouldn't say it's always because I just started showing people this in the past couple weeks, but it's always like, I'm good on that. And then you show them, and the way they did the production this year, on like the newest BattleBots, is like hyped up to no end.
Oh, it's totally legit.
It's like Transformers bing bang booming in the background, and like the lights go down.
It's really cool how they went full steam ahead. They did not slack off. They're like, okay, we're catering to the nerds up in the office. No, they were like,
right,
we're doing this.
Well, and the thing is, it's funny because when they originally did BattleBots back in the 90s and like early 2000s, it was like a joke, and that's why it was on Comedy Central, and so it was very sarcastic almost.
Really snarky.
Like poking fun at the people that were like, who would dare dedicate their life to doing this? But in the new one, it's just like, you're here to watch the main event, baby, and that's BattleBots, and it's bloody, and it's beautiful, and it's just, like, they got hype.
Well, you know what? Mark my words. Give it enough time, and we're gonna have that for real. Right. Like, not that these guys aren't really smart and doing a great job, and it's fun to watch, but it's not gonna be too long before we actually watch, like, human-sized robots just tear the hell out of each other.
Well, it's cool because people are more down with the engineering aspect of it now, and I think they dabbled in showing you the engineering, and I hope for next season they realize that... I don't really care as much about the backstory is made by ABC Disney, so they're really like, oh, let's see the journey of this person. It's like, no, just show me their journey in making this bot and like the challenges of that specifically, but they actually showed you the way they were designed.
And less makeup. I mean, I get that they're trying to like channel the inner WWE, but like, if we wanted to watch that, we'd probably be watching WWE.
Right, yeah. The WWE
nothing
never
on people
ends.
like that.
It's not like there's like a lack of WWE.
Yeah, like nothing on anybody who finds that entertaining. It's
right.
You know, just, yeah.
But, so, yeah, they really hype it up, and it was interesting, and it's fun making predictions. It's actually like something that is worth making predictions about because you look at the way that these bots are designed, and you can actually make inferences, even though they're not always right. And it's kind of fun seeing that.
And then there's matches where you watch them and you're like, oh, that one robot is totally screwed.
Well, it's not like in regular sports, like sometimes the people just don't show up. It's like the bot's the bot that they built. I mean, I guess you could say that they took damage last fight, but that's different.
I don't know.
So
no spoilers, but let's just say.
Well, let's just spoil it, because if people cared, they'd have watched it already.
Oh,
so my boy was Tombstone. This bot just had a 70-pound beam.
Whirly spinning stick
Whirly
of death.
majigger, yeah. That it literally was just, and the guy said it in his interview when they're asking about his bot. He's like, it's unapologetically just a weapon. It's 2 wheels, a base, and then the joint to hold this spinning death blade, and that's all it is.
And you know what? It works.
And I would love to call him the Ronda Rousey of BattleBots, except because he had 4 matches and 4 KOs, and for the most part, all in like 20 seconds or less.
He got the throw.
Yeah, except he lost, and so he's no longer the Ronda Rousey. The guy on the show called him Mike Tyson. That's now the more fitting of the.
Yeah, I like that.
You're right.
Got beat up too much because he got cocky.
Yeah, he got cocky and went in for like the kill, so to speak, and kind of exploded his intestines all over the place.
See, I wouldn't have felt so bad for him if the camera didn't zoom on the guy's face and he went, want some more? Like, oh,
well, he kind of had
jerk.
a habit of smashing the other bots' parts around. And that's also the appeal of this BattleBots thing. It's funny. You, like, feel bad for the bot. It makes no sense. And honestly, it stems from the fact you feel bad for the builder. You're like, you worked so hard on that, and it's getting decimated.
I felt bad. Like, they had that group of, like, what were they, 6th or 7th grade girls?
Yeah.
And they had that
their
robot.
Bot didn't even hardly work.
Well, it was just like, oh, no. Oh, dear. Because half of these guys have been doing it for years.
Right.
And it's like, oh, no.
Okay, I don't feel too bad for them. They got to build a bot for relatively free.
Okay, fair enough. I feel bad for them in that instance because they're out there and they just watch everything that I'm no doubt they busted their homes making.
Right. Well, they made a Tombstone ripoff with like a 20-pound candlestick that was spinning, and it didn't even work.
It's like, that's adorable. Smash.
Right. But the winner was Bite Force, which was a really interesting bot. The only thing I am worried about for next year, because I'm hoping it comes back for second season, we'll see. As far as I have read up, it went up in ratings every week. Yeah. Because at first people were like, oh, this is a joke. I'll watch it just to see how ridiculous this is.
And then like, oh, this is pretty cool.
This is dope, actually. And we actually started having like viewing parties, and we were getting far more hype than was probably should have been allowed. And to be honest, it was ridiculous. But
oh, dude, it was out there. It was out. It was just
But I would love to see it come back for next season. I think it will.
Hell yeah.
But just keep your eye on it, guys. Go to YouTube and just look up like, BattleBots, and then 2015 fights only, so you don't have to watch the terrible commentary from the show, and just see what it's about.
God bless.
If you haven't already,
he's trying.
And so, Mike, let's talk about the combat sport people are probably expecting now.
So recently, unless you were hiding under a rock, because even people who hate MMA and hate women's sports are stuck watching stories on this on ESPN.
Right.
So I know you know about.
It's because there's really not a whole lot of great men's
MMA
right, stories going right now, but.
Well, so you have Ronda Rousey, who I will flat out say is probably the most dominant fighting sport athlete that has ever lived so far.
At this point in her career, yeah.
Yeah. Like,
barring biting an ear off and losing the belt.
Giving her time, like, we'll see. But right now, to put it in perspective, nobody has ever done what she's done.
Right.
None of the Gracies initially. Nobody. And before any of you BJJ cultists start yelling at me, Gracie didn't fight in MMA for most of his matches. He just did quote-unquote street matches. And sorry, doesn't count. Didn't record it.
Right.
Not saying he's not tough and all, but the other thing, too, is like she just... and I kind of brought this up with Kevin. I have a feeling that the female talent pool is rather shallow.
Right. Well, I don't think... Being the big... bad A burly man is much more commonly a dream of most men compared to being the big buff gruff fighter chick.
Well, you know what? How many of those athletes are off doing other things? Because a perspective that most men don't have is women really do look at sports as a way to college.
Right.
It's not. I'm not going to go play and make money. I'm going to play volleyball really well or tennis.
And unfortunately, like the women's USA soccer team won the World Cup, and I think the team made $2 million.
Yeah, that was really
for being the best in the world at the biggest sport in the world. So, I mean, I think that'll start to change, but yeah.
One hopes. And I guess, honestly, she's dominating watch her fights. You won't take you long.
It will take you 2 minutes max.
Yeah, like you're
Queue them all up and see how quickly you go through them. I think her average knockout is like, what, 20 seconds maybe?
Yeah, there are some fun hashtags. Slower than Ronda Rousey.
Right.
And it's not many things.
And unfortunately, there's nothing else to say about Ronda Rousey. Like, she's so dominant.
Yeah.
That's it. And I just hope that, I'm worried for her that her career will end and she'll go undefeated, and then people will be like, well, she never fought anybody. And
exactly.
It won't be her fault.
Well, and to touch on the other thing that big happened in MMA is the suspension of, and I'm going to mispronounce his name, but he's a Brazilian who got kicked out of the UFC already for this kind of crap. Rosemar Palhares. He fought during the same night as the Rousey fight at the World Series of Fighting Championship against Jake Shields, or it might not have been the championship. I know. Anyways.
Anywho.
Jake Shields been around forever. He got submitted, which is kind of crazy. But apparently, not only did Rosemar, who's done this and at every single outlet he's ever fought for, he held the crank, he held the submission 2, 3, 5 seconds after the ref separated him and after the guy tapped. He's literally snapped people's legs.
Ugh.
He separated shoulder clavicles.
So does he just blame the adrenaline?
Honestly,
does he blame anything? Or is he just like, yeah, bro, that's how I fight?
He plans it off that it's not an accident, but you watch the fights. And not only that, he eye gouged Jake Shields. Which, Jake Shields has been doing this crap since the 90s. Right. He has never been eye gouged before.
Right.
So, that's basically where we're at in that. So, watch to see how the World Series of Fighting responds, because that'll kind of test its mettle as a valid MMA outlet, because UFC cut him. He's a really good fighter, and the UFC was like, nope.
Well, so. I mean, you gotta draw the line somewhere. Because gouging eyes, that could ruin careers.
Oh, no, it's terrible. Well,
you
know what? The whole fight, Jake Shields was running a clinic on him for the first 2 rounds. And then suddenly I started getting gouged. And now I'm telling you right now, I'm saving my eyesight. The heck with this match.
Right.
So now Jake Shields had to bury his head in the guy's chest to make sure he couldn't get poked, and suddenly a Kimura.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole reason tapping is there, is because at some point you gotta just, save your body. Like, if you're beaten, So the last combat, sport, that we're gonna talk about, and it's sport, baby. You guys may even remember we did an Evo Cats last year.
Yes, we did.
Well, scarily enough, it's been a year.
Oh, dear.
And Evo came and went, and there was tons of hype matches. Just go look up your favorite fighting game. Well, unless you're one of those hardcore niche guys. Go look up your favorite fighting game, Evo 2015. So Marvel, which I guess nobody really cares about anymore, for the first time a non-American won.
Wow.
Yeah. For Super Smash Bros. Melee, for the first time in 7 years, granted there was a 5-year hiatus where there was none.
Yeah.
For the first time in 7 years, someone won Super Smash Bros. Melee that's not Cloud9 Mango.
Wow.
And I don't follow Smash that closely, but from what I've heard I think the guy's name was Armada. He is a top player, and everyone was like, oh yeah, he deserved it. So it wasn't a fluke or something.
No whoopsie daisies.
Right. And Mango, I don't know much about him, but I don't know his attitude, but he took his 4th place medal and threw it into the crowd. Which is kind of douchey, but I guess if you're used to taking first, what is 4th to you?
I'm not going to comment. I have no idea what that guy is thinking.
And, I mean, at least he gave somebody the dopest souvenir. Whoever caught that.
Or that and a concussion.
You're right. Oh, I'm sure I'm sure it's
what did you get at Evo? I got a lump on the head and memory loss.
Right. I'm sure it's not made of actual gold or silver or anything. It's probably zinc plated.
Well, it'd be funny if the announcer walks up and goes, "You realize that metal was worth a couple $100." Right.
Yeah, right. They probably got them shipped in from China for 45 cents.
Benz.
Right. Although, as I'm saying that, and I don't remember, it might have been Marvel as well, but then Street Fighter, which I was most excited about because it's my favorite, the top 3 players got I don't want to say solid gold. They were probably gilded, but gilded fight sticks.
Gold plated? Oh,
yeah.
Yeah,
dude, that's crazy.
Dope. That's dope. I don't care who you are.
And for the Street Fighter finals, the whole tournament as a whole went as long as possible. It went the grand finals, the loser beat the guy in the winner's bracket, so he reset the bracket, and then the second set went 2-2, 1 match to 1 match. So the tournament went to the max length that is humanly possible, and because that's not enough drama apparently in and of itself, Momochi, who was one of the finalists, his fight stick died on him, and it pauses the game when your controller disconnects or anything goes wrong with it, and that's an automatic
DQ
for that match. Yeah, so luckily he was up 1-0, and then that brought the match to 1-1. And the funny thing about this is Razer, who makes the fight sticks, I guess one of their executives tweeted because he was playing a Razer stick. He's like, "You gotta be watching this." It was just the perfect storm for that. Yeah, right. And then the stick breaks on grand finals.
Hey guys, watch this. Snap.
You're right. Can I get a refund on my Razer I just bought? But Momochi actually did end up winning it. He won the deciding match, and I was excited about this because he's a Ken player, and he's been the only Ken player left because most people, as the game has progressed, realize there are players with better tools. Mm-hmm. And so with Ken, it's just straight up Street Fighter. It's I am just better than you. I'm not even gimmicking you. I am just superior.
Heck yeah.
And as I'm saying that, he switched to Evil Ryu, who is why people don't play Ken to win. But whatever. He waited until he was at grand finals.
And then he, yeah.
Yeah, right.
Well, man, you can't take on the champ without great tools.
Right, exactly. And if it's in the game, just play it. if it's good, the Yankees never get upset that they buy the best players. It's not like you.
Until they couldn't. They're like, oh crap, we're out of money.
You're right. Well, the only difference is anybody can pick any character in video games.
Yes, it is.
So yeah, there you have it. Combat sports update.
Dude, that's wow. So we did it.
We did it. So now, Mike, we need to inform them. What is our actual topic today?
So our actual topic, we are going to begin an installment of what will become a longer series, and that is our Hall of Fame.
Yes, the Frivolous Fandom Hall of Fame.
Yep.
This is something that me and Mike discussed, not even joking, the first week we ever started Frivolous Fandom. We were just we recorded the Introductions and Foot Races podcast.
Shogovi.
Episode 1. Yeah. And then we were just what are some topics we could do? And we wrote down a bunch, and this has been there, and we're every time we're about to do it, we're nope, let's save it for a rainy day, or just, we were adding on to it. And now the time is here.
Time has come. The fruit is ripe. But not too ripe.
So, Mike, what is the Hall of... or who can be allowed into the Hall of Fame?
Okay,
and
so...
what does it take?
So, the criteria of our Hall of Fame is you gotta... come on, it's nerd culture. It's nerddom. You have to be involved in nerdy stuff. And now, granted, nowadays, nerdy chic is a thing.
And it will bring great riches.
Yes, it is now lucrative to be nerdy.
Right.
It's not something you have to be closeted for. So you'll notice that the older school folks on this list, up till around, the 90s maybe? Late 90s?
No, not even. I would say 2000s even.
Yeah, mid to late 2000s.
I would say until, Spider-Man X-Men is really when it started. And we'll elaborate more on this later, but, Batman and Superman, those were known quantities that could bring in the dollars. Yeah, other than that...
Exactly. Well, we give Keaton a pass. We mentioned that.
Right.
Keaton actually did, stake his claim on that, so give him credit for that.
Right. So everybody after Christopher Reeve in the first Superman and Michael Keaton in the first Batman, not real risky there.
Yeah.
But a lot of these older school guys, they were setting out on a path when nerd wasn't chic, as you put it.
And then you know what? When they got to be old, for a lot of the gentlemen, they've earned their nerd cred and they expanded.
Right.
And
so now that nerd is cool, there's still a lot of things that were set, like Star Wars, while it was nerdy at the time, is now amazing and cool.
Yeah.
So you still get in. If you're in a new Star Wars, we're trying to equate that, not in terms of movie quality, but in terms of nerd cred to older Star Wars.
Exactly.
Because even though older Star Wars had to lay the foundation for that. Other than that, you'll notice a lot of comics, a lot of superhero stuff, things like that. A lot of sci-fi.
Video game voicing too.
Yeah, and voice actors. So, we didn't mention, this is our
actors.
Yeah, this is our Actor Hall of Fame, strictly speaking. There's going to be a lot of other amazing people involved in the production of all of these things.
Directors, writers, animators, and...
Right. So that's why this is the
composers.
first installment.
Yep. So
hopefully, directors and all that, that'll be in later installments, and we'll get to that. So, Mike, let's start out with our first inductee. And some of these will be obvious.
That Liam Neeson's.
That Liam Neeson's,
though.
I mean, do we need to say more?
Zeus, Aslan, Razagul, Qui-Gon, Fallout, done. Next. We don't.
If you don't know why he's in the Nerd Hall of Fame, then you wouldn't be listening to this podcast.
You're gonna get a call that's gonna be I don't know who you are.
Right. Key and Peele are gonna call you.
And I don't know why you don't know these things. But I have a very particular set of skills, and that I am a really good actor, and I am Liam freaking Neeson. Click. And you're gonna be oh. Mind blown.
Mike, why have you just promised everyone that Liam Neeson would call them personally?
It's the same as our frivolous money back time machine guarantee,
right,
that kind of thing.
Yeah, we got your money. That's ours. Bye-bye. So, Mike, who's next?
Tara Strong. Now, if you don't know who I'm talking about,
You do, you just don't know you do.
exactly. So she voiced Jubilee among other characters in X-Men. She's several characters in Dexter's Lab, Cow and Chicken, Powerpuff Girls, Kim Possible, Justice League, Spider-Man, Afro Samurai, Young Justice.
Basically,
Harley
take
Quinn.
your favorite cartoon from Cartoon Network in the 90s, and she was the voice of the main female character.
Yep, and several DC Universe characters. I mean, she's in there.
Right. I mean, if you still doubt, just either IMDb her or just look her up. We are actually watching an interview with her where she was just rattling through voices.
Oh, it's great.
Flawlessly, and we were sold. We were like, all right.
Yep, she's in.
She's in.
So next up is Harrison Ford.
Oh, shocker.
Who, I mean...
Mike, what's he been in?
I don't know, it's something called Star Wars.
Eh.
It's a movie. But yeah, so Han Solo, the main character from Blade Runner, who, I'm sorry, nerd cred lost, I don't remember him off the top of my head. And Indiana Jones.
No, in your defense, because I don't either, but I do know it's a weird name.
Yeah. And then Indiana Jones. So that's Harrison Ford. Another person who you know but don't know is a man named Meiko Iwamatsu.
Okay, Mike, what's... I don't even want to be rude. I can't pronounce the name. Mako. Let's call him Mako.
So he is the wizard from Conan. He voiced Master Splinter in the most recent Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon movie. And he's Aku from Samurai Jack. But even more important to us,
oh yes,
he's just this good old cheerful fellow from the Fire Nation, guiding his wayward nephew with a scar on his eye through this really complicated and terrible world.
Right. Just only the inventor of lightning bending.
And like actual flame or fire bending from his mouth.
What was it, the dragon?
The Dragon of the West.
Man, this guy's got almost as many titles as Daenerys Targaryen.
Yes, he does.
Not quite.
Iroh. The Great. Iroh. Uncle Iroh.
From
Avatar, The Last Airbender, and Korra.
I mean, probably the best character of all time. No, I'm just kidding. At least the best character in Avatar.
Oh, yeah, easily.
I don't know, though. I love Aang, too, but...
honestly, Uncle is a fan favorite.
Right.
Like, everyone can
It's like, whenever, like, you're comparing your favorite characters, it's like main characters get an automatic deduction because they're the main character and they're meant generally to be the coolest, unless they're like an anti-hero or something.
Really common trope in popularity polls.
Right.
A really, really common
And then
trope.
there's always, like, one character that is just favorite character bait. And that's okay, original example, Boba Fett. That's just favorite character bait.
Daryl.
Yep, absolutely. We're like, if you're being honest, they're not the deepest character.
Tyrion
Generally.
Lannister, Daryl Dixon, and Boba Fett are
Right.
the three best examples of favorite bait.
Right, and then more obscure for anybody who's watched the anime Seven Deadly Sins. Bon is like...
Oh gosh, he's so...
If you've seen the show, he is the definition, but since, like, I don't know how many people have seen it, because it just came out like a year ago or something.
Well, see, it's pretty popular manga at this point,
Okay.
and if he actually loses status that way in the manga as
Really?
time goes on. But
Is there just a new side favorite character?
Yeah, there's just a new, and like, actually King becomes...
Okay.
Dude, it's yeah, I'm
So there we go. We've invented a new trope.
There we
Favorite
are.
character bait.
character bait. Oh my gosh, yes.
Yep.
So, speaking of which, Samuel Jackson.
Favorite actor bait.
Favorite actor bait. He is Mace Windu, Afro Samurai, Nick Fury. He's a computer technician in Jurassic Park. I bet you didn't remember that one.
You're right. Hold on to your butts.
And one of his only roles where he's like this chill, normal guy.
Right. He's not in command of every situation.
Yeah.
That's like...
And he's not saying swear words about these bleepity bleeping snakes on his bleepity bleeping plane.
Yeah, it's like him and Denzel have that same thing, where it doesn't matter what role they're playing, they are in charge.
Oh yeah, they have to be.
Like in Deja Vu, I forget what Denzel...
no!
What?
Not always.
I mean,
Unbreakable.
Okay, yeah.
He's Mr. Glass.
I forgot, we almost didn't mention that.
Oh my gosh, I'm glad
He's
you mentioned that.
He's in one of, like, the two good M. Night Shyamalan
Yeah,
movies.
right.
How could we forget that?
Oh my gosh.
But...
That's cred. That's cred right there.
That's some creds. But it's one of those things where, for some reason, they're always the boss. Like, they're in control of every situation, and I think a lot of it's like their voice. Like, they just have a very commanding presence about them.
He just... Well, dude, and then he... yeah, or he's the man behind the scenes, as in Inglourious Bastards, where he's Steven.
Oh, yeah. You mean Django Unchained?
Oh, my gosh.
That was very confusing for a minute. I was like, Sam Jackson. I was like, I need to go back and rewatch that. And then to make that even more confusing, I thought you were talking about Denzel Washington for some reason. Even, like, I was like, Denzel Washington? Wait, no, Sam Jackson? Wait, no, he's in a different movie? Oh, he's in Kill Bill as well.
He is in Kill Bill. Oh, my gosh.
He's in every Tarantino movie.
Yeah, he's got all of them.
So, I guess we've gone on enough about the most obvious one.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know what? That brings us to the last person in our, pretty much golden, gilded Hall of Fame. Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Oh, yes. I mean, this one's pretty obvious, but, Mike, let's see what he's in.
So he is Conan, the OG. He is the Terminator, and he will be back.
And the OG.
Yeah. Not his fault, but he's Mr. Freeze.
Hey. Still nerd.
You can't blame him for Schumacher.
Right.
You can't. It's not his fault.
In a weird universe where he, for some reason, could get recast in a newer Batman, I think he would actually be really good.
Oh, yeah, totally.
And that's a role you could do old.
Well, but you know what? They'd have to actually, change the character to match the accent, because, bless him, he just can't get rid of the Austrian.
Right.
It's there.
I mean, as long as he's like a scientist with a wife I forget what happened to her, she froze to death or something.
Yeah.
As long as he's a scientist that loses his wife, I don't think Freeze is one of those characters that people are going to absolutely cry foul if they mess with his origins.
Well, honestly, the show actually is the only reason he's still in comics, like the cartoon.
Yeah, the animated series.
And honestly, he's also in Total Recall, which if you haven't watched it,
he's in a lot of sci-fi stuff.
Go watch it.
Because he's also in, what was it, Sixth Day?
Sixth Day. He's in, what's the one where he gets cloned?
Is that? No. Isn't that Total Recall?
No, there's no.
That's one where they're messing with his mind, right?
Yeah. Total Recall.
Wasn't that Sixth Day? Sixth Day is the one where
he's cloned. Sixth Day,
yeah. So he's just been in tons of sci. Oh, and Predator.
I was just about to say that.
Yeah.
So yeah, he gets it.
I mean, he was a part of the most epic handshake in history.
Because Guile's theme goes with everything.
Yeah, and then there's like an earthquake happening in the background.
Volcanoes.
Yeah. So, and rest in peace to Carl Weathers, the poor guy who dies in every movie he's in.
Oh yeah, it's really
because he died in Predator. And Rocky IV.
Without him, we don't get Creed though. So,
that's true. Which we're hype on, and I'm sure we're going to talk more about later.
Oh hell yeah.
But the one thing I was going to say is, do you think when they made Happy Gilmore, were they killing him knowing that do you think when I don't know how much they write those scripts, but when they wrote the script for Happy Gilmore, they were like, oh, the mentor has to die? Or do you think when they cast Carl Weathers as Happy's mentor, they're like, let's just kill this guy because he's...
Had you asked me 5 or 6 years ago, back when I still had faith in Adam Sandler and his writing team...
You're right. You think it was premeditated?
I'd been like, totes, man, the guy's a genius. But now I'm like... I've seen too many of his recent movies. I think it was an accident.
I've seen him on TV in sweatpants a couple too many times doing interviews.
Oh dear. Yeah.
So
well, we should leave that alone.
We should leave it. So Mike, let's see. I think we're now into our biggest of the bigs.
We are getting to a very, very important person in terms of monster movies and in terms of recent trilogies.
Oh,
so
we're not to our biggest of the bigs. Okay.
We're not. We're not.
We're almost there.
I messed up the list, so bear with us.
We did discuss that you messed up the list.
Yes. So there's a man named Christopher Lee.
It's my bad. Okay. Yeah, Christopher Lee. Just rattle it off for us.
He is Saruman.
Yes.
He is Dracula. Yes. The OG Dracula.
I've actually never seen the OG, but
yeah.
He died recently, and somebody was like, "You didn't know that," and I was like.
I think that was me.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not worthy.
Yeah.
I'm not worthy.
He is Fu Manchu, who, while very racist character, shaped a lot of adventure pulp stories and films from Britain, which then translated over to America.
Right.
He is Saruman the White.
Nice.
Yep. Count Dooku.
Count Dooku, there you go. Which, I don't want to be a hater, but should have never existed. As a character, he was great as Count Dooku.
Yeah. Honestly, I wish they would have combined
him and Maul.
Dooku and Maul.
Yeah.
Having Maul have a mask.
Right. And
having Dooku be a character that you dealt with the whole time.
Although, how does Christopher Lee look with face paint on? and horns.
I don't know, man.
He might have been a dope. I don't know if he could do the choreography.
Dude, he'd have been well, you know what? He could have been a Jedi Master that turns tail at the end. Like, Palpatine's like, hey, be on my side. All right, I'm down.
Right.
I'll be an Inquisitor. No worries.
But, apparently Obi-Wan had to break his own rule about having the higher ground and for some reason defeat Darth Maul. And thus we get Dooku. But he was great as Dooku.
Oh, boy.
Great presence as always. A dude that season just shows up to the set and is like ready to go.
Commanding. Oh yeah, he's just like bam. Well, and he's done everything. Like yeah, he's from the old guard. It was him, Ian Cushing. He plays Helsing and Moff Tarkin and a couple of other things. Allen Guinness, Obi-Wan.
Oh yeah, I mean, hated Star Wars.
Yeah, that whole. You know what? It's funny too because he hated Star Wars, but he was always the picture of professionalism and sincerity when he acted.
Right.
Like, no one really believed that he hated the movies because he did so...
Right, how could you perform that well? He's like, well, it's my job. I do it well.
And, you know, and it's funny because people were acting like, wow, so, like, he couldn't stand him. He's like, yeah, I couldn't stand him. But he did his job.
And cred to, like, and this is what we were talking about, like, Christopher Lee and... what's the guy's name? Alec Guinness.
Alec Guinness.
Yeah, like, those guys
Peter
were the
Cushing.
ones we're talking about that... really had to take kind of a gamble on these. I mean, they were established enough actors that like nothing was going to tarnish them.
After Bridge on the River Kwai.
But this is like before it was just obvious. Like nowadays, if you get called up for Marvel, you take it because A, you're going to make lots of money and you're going to be beloved for the most part. So, credit to those guys.
It's almost easy money because in a way, those roles, you can ham it up depending on what you are. Like, no one's watching The Henchman.
Right.
Even if you're a speaking role henchman.
Right.
So, yeah.
So, and then speaking of old guys that just show up and have a great presence.
Oh, Ian McKellen.
Right. So, really, he's only really two nerdy things. But they are two of the biggest nerdy things.
Yes, they are. He is Gandalf the White, and he is Magneto.
Oh, my goodness.
And Gandalf the Grey.
And he's Gandalf the Grey.
Yeah.
And Gandalf the Brown, if that was ever on film. Wait, was that the color of the initial wizard?
No, Radagast the Brown. They're not. I don't know.
Were there brown wizards?
Yeah, it was Radagast's little brother or
Sounds a little too close to Poop Wizard. No, I'm just kidding. But yeah, so he was definitely. It's like not a cameo appearance in these things either, like a one-off. He's in the entire original X-Men trilogy.
Yeah.
And he's in the entire Lord of the Rings trilogy, and he's in the Hobbit.
Yes.
So, which unfortunately is a trilogy.
It's not his fault. Again, he had to do it contractually.
Right.
But
right.
So that pretty much wraps up the Golden Gilded Hall.
Yep.
So now we're moving on to Diamond and Platinum.
Yeah, we're moving on to exactly. We're into the master race now. Granted, we're not really ranking these, but we're gonna rank these just for funsies.
Just for the giggles.
And just to give people reasons to say we're dumb and ranked them wrong.
Yeah.
But this is for fun. Top 3. Here we go.
Number 3, Ron Perlman.
Okay.
So this one's another one that you may not actually know off the top of your head, but you do. You do. This
is one that when Mike mentioned it, I went, well, and then
he's been in Sons of Anarchy.
What? No. I said he was in other things too, because I don't know if Sons of Anarchy constitutes as nerdiness.
Well, no, I think what you're saying is, I mean, he's been in stuff, but I don't know how many nerdy things.
Right? Yeah.
He's been in Sons of Anarchy. I'm like, no. He's Hellboy.
Yep.
He was in Blade 2. He's one of the villains. He's the voice of the narrator for Fallout. War never changes.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Speaking of narrators, he should have been the voice of the narrator in Bastion, which I'm not complaining about. Whoever they got to do it is good, but
I agree.
Just thought I had right now.
He was a voice actor in Titan A. He's in Star Trek Nemesis. He's the villain in Conan, the 2012 remake. He's in Pacific Rim.
Yep.
He's the voice of Clayface in Batman series.
That blew my mind.
Voice of the Hulk in Fantastic Four, the animated series.
That was surprising.
He plays Heavy Man, and Static Shocker voices him. He is the voice of Slade and Deathstroke in DC Media. He is Firelord Sozin.
That was the one that almost ruined me.
He is a villain in Afro Samurai. He's Justice, the main villain, and he is a voice of the commander in Halo 2. I rest my case.
Yep. Right. And like just some as you go down, you're just like, what?
It's like Critical Hit. Combo. Double combo. Triple combo.
Right.
Quadra combo.
He went for the reset, and he got it. Double damage. No,
I'm just juggling.
Yeah, it was ridiculous. And Firelord Sozin, I know it was just one episode, but it was like one of my most favorite episodes of Avatar.
Oh, he made Firelord, or was I cower in fear?
Yeah, it was just like, why? Where's our, instead of a Korra prequel, why aren't we seeing our Firelord Sozin / Avatar Roku prequel? No, but Ron Perlman, like you were saying to me earlier, Mike, he fills a very particular niche.
He does. He's gruff looking. He's not entirely Brad Pitty in his facial features. He's even said that he got made fun of for being quote unquote ape-like. I don't know if I'd go that far, but he's not going to win any modeling contests.
Right.
And I think that opened the door initially because he got to play the gruff, brutish thug. But then people were like, kind of like his voice.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I was gonna say his voice, in terms of like recognizability, is just in that tier just below Morgan Freeman.
Oh, yeah. And mark my words, if I meet him, I'm not going to be like, oh, Hellboy, or oh, Sons of Anarchy. Not that those aren't great things, or any of these other things. I'm going to say, does war ever change to him? And he's going to be like, war never changes. And I'm going to nerd out. It's going to be great. Because I don't know.
He's going to be like, wait, what? No, I'm just kidding. I'm sure he remembers Fallout.
He has to have had so many people ask him that already.
Oh, yeah. He does enough cons, you're right.
Well, like a friend of quick segue, a friend of mine walked up to Manu Bennett, who plays Crixus and Deathstroke and several other nerdy things, and straight up says, I've seen your penis because of Spartacus. And he looks at my friend and goes, you know what? That'd be weird if you weren't like the 15th person who said that to me.
And so your friend was probably racking his brain the whole night. He's like, what's the one thing I can say that will make him remember me?
And he's like, wow, I'm not original at all.
Oh my goodness. Leave nothing past the con.
Oh yeah, dude. Dude, you don't know the wackiness of humanity until you've come to the con.
So this next name, Mike, they're gonna think they understand why, but
they have no idea.
But they'll when it hits them. So let's see. Who's number 2, Mike?
Mark Hamill.
Okay. Luke Skywalker makes quite a lot of sense.
Oh yeah, just Luke.
Except it doesn't end there.
Except he's also the Joker for the Batman cartoon series.
He's arguably the Joker.
He's the Joker. Like,
Heath Ledger's my favorite, but I will never argue with anybody that says that Mark Hamill's the best Joker, because voice-wise, on voice alone and laugh alone.
Honestly, I used to be able to do a really good Joker laugh, and then I got hit by puberty.
Right, and it's funny, if you watch him do his Joker, like, I've seen videos of just him doing it, he gets so into the character. His face contorts, and he's using his hands.
Oh, it's great.
And it's funny because I've watched enough stuff with voice actors where you find out that, like, you have to emote, and it's gotten to the point now in video games where you can they actually do act it out with cutscenes and stuff, but it's cool, like, these guys doing it in the 90s and 80s and stuff that learned, like, this is legit acting, you just
well,
forget the part where he's in front of a mic.
Wasn't he the only one who was allowed to stand up during his lines because he needed to be the Joker?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I'm sure they would have been able to, but it was like, they're sitting doing their lines, and he's like, no, I gotta stand up for this.
Rise.
And when you hear that, you understand why he is so great as the Joker. And we had to put him, he's in our intro, his laugh. Is in the Frivolous Fandom intro. So.
But you know who else he is?
Who else
he voices Spectre in various DC properties.
Which one's the Spectre?
He is basically the Grim Reaper of the DC universe. He's the green cloaked guy. Hal Jordan becomes him for a while. It's like an entity that possesses somebody. He's also a voice on the regular show, which I don't actually watch.
Oh man, he's like the white gorilla looking guy. And he talks real like this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know what you're talking about now.
Which is awesome because all the people that like the regular show right now are like, word up.
Yep. Not only that, he's Firelord Ozai.
That was the one that was like, get him on the list.
Yeah, he's there.
That was big. And then it's crazy because you go back and watch, the finale and stuff, and you're like, that's Mark Hamill?
Yeah, you wouldn't have known right then and there because you're so caught in the character. Right. But once you know, you know.
Right.
You hear it.
You hear everything he says.
And also, he had a quick funny shout-out. This isn't really necessarily cred for him, but he voiced a character, or he played a character in the Kingsman movie, who's named in the comic books Mark Hamill, the climatologist. So when I saw them pick Mark Hamill, I start cracking up. Nobody in the theater knows why I'm laughing. Everybody thinks I'm like crazy.
Mike forgot there was anybody else in the theater because he was so tickled. And then he notices me staring at him with an eyebrow raised, and he's like,
I'll explain later.
And then he explained later, and I was like, oh,
okay,
that's neat.
Yeah, okay, I got that.
But yeah, he's voiced so much like more low key stuff.
Like we don't have time.
We can't go
We don't have
there,
time.
right? But we're giving you the stuff, and the thing about the roles we've listed, it's like Luke Skywalker, the main character.
Probably probably the heavyweight champion of all nerd characters in American culture.
Right.
You can argue about Doctor Who, but which one?
There's only one Luke Skywalker, baby.
Yeah. Not even close.
Which I'm back and forth, by the way, between all these old actors that are in the new Star Wars. Like, I'm caught between whether it's awesome and whether it's gonna work out. Because I know some people, when they saw Han Solo and Chewie in the newest Star Wars trailer, like, oh my gosh! But I couldn't help but think, like, this looks like a parody almost.
Dude, the way they did it, though, I was just like, oh, the feels.
Right, at least they gave you just enough. They gave you just what you needed. Right. Which it probably will coast by on. But yeah, so he's Luke, arguably the heavyweight champ. He's the Joker, obviously, or arguably the heavyweight villain champ.
Oh, by far. And then he's part of something that's like out there enough to really give him some heavy nerd cred. He is the Fire Lord in Avatar.
Which, by the way, just to put it in perspective, like, there was 3 seasons of build-up for Fire Lord Ozai. You saw him, like, twice, I think, ever before the finale.
There are 5 total episodes.
5 total episodes.
In which you
and
see him.
None of them were until the 3rd season.
Yep.
And then, so it was so imperative that he be a worthy villain, and he was great. Slightly one-dimensional, but that's writing. That's not Mark Hamill's delivery. Mark Hamill's delivery was spot on.
Mark Hamill nailed it. So you know what? That actually brings us to our number 1 spot.
And bear with us when we first say this. You're going to go, really? Number 1?
And we're going to be like, yeah.
And we're going to go,
really?
Really? Number 1, baby.
Hugo Weaving.
Okay. Agent Smith.
Agent Smith,
That's a big one, but the last 2 Matrix sucked. How could he possibly be number
but you
1?
know what? He was also Elrond in Lord of the Rings.
Well, that's okay, but the last 2 Lord of the Rings sucked. No, I'm just kidding.
And he was also the voice of Megatron.
Okay, the last 2 Transformers sucked.
And he was V in V for Vendetta.
Oh my gosh.
That's an Alan Moore comic book adaptation. You don't get nerdier than that.
Yeah, and you don't get that often, by the way.
And he's
you get that, what, twice?
Yeah, and he's the Red Skull.
Oh my gosh, that was the one. Mike read 4 things. I was like, that's so close, but and then he put in Red Skull, and that was like the icing on the cake.
And hear our logic out. Granted, most of these roles aren't necessarily leading roles, but he is Elrond, who is an important character in one of the.
And he's in all 3 of them.
Yeah, he's in all 3 movies. And all the Hobbits too, and to some capacity. It's one of the biggest trilogies that ever existed. He's the voice of Megatron, which, again, you don't get nerdier than that. Yeah, right. And to no fault of his own, and it's not his fault Michael Bay did all the things he did. Right. But he is Megatron.
And to be fair, the first Transformers justifies the existence of the trilogy. I never need to watch 2, 3, or 4, especially 4.
Yeah.
But the first one is like, I'm glad they made this movie.
Yeah, it was nice. He's the Red Skull. Again, not much nerdier. That's like retro Marvel.
And also, the leading villain in arguably my favorite of all the Avengers characters now is Cap, and that's helped set up by
glad to have another Team Cap on my squad.
You're right. Ant-Man actually is going to be challenging. Hopefully, we'll see how he is in the next movies. But.
And then we already covered V, and you know what? Honestly, Agent Smith, the Matrix, it's the real deal.
Yeah, I mean, say what you will about the last 2 Matrixes, but the first one, again, big weight.
Oh yeah.
So, there you have it. That is the Hall of Fame. As it stands now, nothing is set in stone, obviously. And we probably missed some people. I mean, we're only 2 dudes with, 2 brains here. Yeah. So, I mean, if we did forget anybody, let us know. But, also, wait to freak out, because now we gotta get into some honorable mentions.
Yeah, with the H&Ms.
So, these are people that are just right on the cusp. But when you hold them up to the people in the Hall of Fame, they just fall a little short.
Their microscope's a little thick.
Right, but they still deserve some shine. So let's go through, Mike. Who are our honorable mentions?
So first up is Ray Stevenson. You do know who he is. You know what roles he's had, but you can't think of them.
Right.
So he's Punisher. He is in the Book of Eli as a villain. He is Volstagg, one of the Viking companions of Thor, and he's Firefly in G.I. Joe. Not only that, in TV, he's always the tall, kind of imposing villain guy in various fantasy and history novels and movie adaptations. Just look him up.
Well, and he's one of those guys that we were talking about. Like, if he had a slightly, I hate to say it, but like better. He's not a bad looking dude. No, but he's not
Brad
leading man.
Exactly. And honestly, he's a little disproportionate in his build, but he's still very, very imposing.
Right. And I hate to say it, but if he was a little bit more proportionate in his build, he probably would be the leading man in all this stuff and be in the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
But moving on.
Idris Elba. He is Heimdall. He is in Ghost Rider, Pacific Rim, and he voices one of the commandos in Call of Duty Modern Warfare 3.
Oh, yeah.
So you know what? This guy's been around. He's huge in Britain.
Yeah.
Massive in Britain.
Say, he might be a Hall of Famer one day.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Especially if he continues to do Marvel stuff.
Right.
Honestly, I would have liked to see him as Black Panther. That's just me. He has a very...
Have they announced Black Panther?
Yeah, it's...
it's Chadwick Boseman, right?
Yes.
The guy from 42.
Yes.
Okay.
So you know what? He's got this very stately and regal bearing.
Regal. That's... You just defined him. That's
yeah,
the
he's
one
very...
word.
like, you know what? Let's be honest. Heimdall is supposed to be a Viking, and Vikings are white. But you know what? I didn't think anything of Idris Elba as being Heimdall.
Right.
He just looks so darn regal.
Right.
Up there with his armor and with his very proper way of speaking
Right.
and his smooth voice. It was just like, okay, yeah, it's Black Heimdall. How you doing? There you go.
Right. And
Absolutely no thoughts given.
And by the way, I just realized before we lose all street cred and nerd cred, can that be considered the same thing?
Yeah.
Before we lose street cred, he was in Prometheus.
Yes, you're right. He's the
Yeah.
captain.
He's in the
If you
scariest
don't
Christmas movie of all time.
If you don't have the one you love the one you with.
Right. But yeah, he's definitely like when you have him in your mind for as a writer, I'm sure it's hard to replace him. Like when you're like you have roles that he is like so particular and perfect in the way he is that you have him in mind. If they were like, oh, he's already contractually.
You know what? He's a handsome dude. He's tall. He's just
He has
regal.
a look about him. Yeah,
he's just regal.
And so, like, as a writer, when they're like, we can't get Idris Elba, you're probably like, crap, we got to rewrite this character then.
Yeah.
Like you said earlier, Will Smith is not going to be Heimdall. Like,
No, it can't be. And I love Will Smith. Lots of other roles. He's not a Viking. He can't be. It just does not have
By the
bearing
way,
about
we didn't
him.
even look up Will Smith for this list.
We don't need to.
Is he just in?
He's got Independence Day, Men in Black, and he's going to be Deadshot. But we'll see how Deadshot is.
All right. we didn't look into Will Smith. I don't know why. Somehow we overlooked him. But,
Yeah.
okay, moving on.
Next, we have Natalie Portman, who I feel like we don't really need to justify this one so much.
So much. And so she's Padme from the Star Wars prequels.
She's Jane Foster in Thor.
She's from V.
I think what's her name in V? I should remember. But
I should remember too.
She's the main character. She's the heroine in V. And you know what? She started in Mars Attacks, which you don't get more niche nerdy than that.
Yeah, and she's in Heat. Wait, that's not really nerdy, but I love the movie Heat.
This is dope.
So we'll throw it out there.
Yeah.
I mean, some things that hold her back, like Thor, and this is by no means her fault. Like Thor, she's the main heroine, yet somehow not hardly in the movies because she's only in the Thor movies.
Yeah, and honestly,
And it's only because she's too busy doing other things. Like
Actual acting roles.
She's she's a hot name right now. So it's like she doesn't need Thor.
Well, what's that one director she did Black Swan with? Like, she's doing,
Yeah.
like, she doesn't need this.
She's doing art.
Yeah, she is arting.
What is it? What was the movie with James Franco? Your Highness notwithstanding.
Yeah.
Excluded. So
Yeah, that was not art.
here's one. Okay, so this one, Christian Bale.
Christian Bale.
Definite honorable mention.
Batman, Equilibrium, Reign of Fire, Prestige, and he's Thomas in Pocahontas. Done.
You're right. Just not quite. So close. Like Dark Knight almost puts him in alone.
Yeah,
But-
just by itself.
But again, holding him up to some of these other guys, not quite at that level.
Next, we got Ben Affleck, who is going to be Batman. Hope to God he does well.
I think he will.
Daredevil, not his fault. That's the writer.
I think if he's bad as Batman or bad in the Batman movie, it's going to be like Daredevil, where it's not his fault.
It's a writer,
necessarily.
yeah. Not only that, he's part of Clerks. You know, the guy's got some nerd cred there.
Definitely. And he's going to continue to grow at this point. He'll
And
be
then-
directing superhero movies before it's all done.
Oh,
Probably.
totally. And then you have Vin Diesel, who is Groot, he is Riddick, and he is the Iron Giant.
Right.
Done.
Yeah, Iron Giant.
Don't need to
Boom.
go there. And then Sean Bean, who, if you don't know who that is, you clearly haven't been watching people die.
Yeah.
He was Boromir.
Yeah,
Spoiler alert, Ned Stark dies.
I was going to say, we need to start the Killed in Movies Hall of Fame. Carl Weathers, Sean Bean. I don't know, there's more. But
We got plenty of people.
Yeah, right.
So honestly, and then he was the villain in Goldeneye, or I think or maybe it was 006.
I think you're right.
Yeah, Goldeneye. Yeah.
Boom.
So yeah, those are our honorable mentions. You know?
So now we're going to get into another fun one that just hopefully we cover some more people that you might have been thinking of. These are up-and-comers, Now, the up-and-comers will sound similar-ish to the honorable mentions. Typically, what differentiated them is the honorable mentions are typically kind of, already apex or kind of in, like, the twilight years of their career, so to speak. Well, all these up-and-comers we have yet to see them finish.
Well, you know what, and I'm just going to throw out there, our lists are totally biased towards men. It's the truth, numbers. But I think that's going to change, hopefully, because later on, people are going to start actually casting older women, because, God forbid, life involves older women.
Right.
And therefore, roles need to. Even comic books.
I mean, eventually Meryl Streep has to, like, either retire or die, and there has to be roles
other women
can have that are old,
And let's be honest, most of these guys, they got to be these people after they're old. So I think as more women write, we're going to have this problem be fixed. So quick, like, PSA about that. First up is Chris Evans.
Yep, this one is
Although
obvious,
he's pretty
but
established.
also...
He's pretty
he
established.
He is, but I still think he's not...
He's not done yet.
He's not done yet. Yeah. So what's he in?
Boys, Casey Jones. He played in Snowpiercer.
Casey Jones in the cartoon?
In
right?
the 2007.
The TMNT?
Yes.
That was cool, and I didn't know that.
Yeah. He's in Snowpiercer. Good movie. Go watch it. It's nerdy. He is the Human Torch. And he is Cap.
Yeah, Cap, biggest one, but...
Done. We're good. That's it.
He's Human Torch, and, I mean, I shouldn't speak until I see the new Fantastic Four, but he's likely to not be the worst Human Torch.
Yeah, right. Like, we'll see how that goes.
Whenever you watch the original Fantastic Four, that would be a huge achievement. You would never have believed, oh, wait, you can do worse than this. But,
hey, don't jinx it. We gotta go see that movie.
I gotta go see it before I knock it.
Next, we have Chris Hemsworth, who is Thor, and one of the lead characters in Cabin in the Woods.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean...
And he's Kirk's dad.
Yes, he was. He was, James Kirk.
Yeah, he was in
James Senior.
Like, he was in one scene.
Yeah.
But still, that's
nerdy,
and if you're a Star Trek fan, I think that's a big deal.
Oh, yeah. Next up, we have Ellen Page.
Finally, this is one...
Finally, some double X chromosomes.
Yeah, this is one me and Mike had a little bit of debate on, only because, and to justify it, I was like, I feel like she already peaked. But... She's doing a lot of voice acting these days.
She's
Kitty Pryde.
She's Kitty Pryde,
which goes back 10 years now, which is crazy. That put it in perspective for me, because X2 is like 2003, so it's more than 10 years. She's been doing this. She's Inception.
And she's just getting started with the voice work in video games. And
what was that game that was like totally like based on? Well, not based on her, but she
like they actually based it on her face.
Like, the character looked like her. She voiced the character, and I think she was like involved in this like fabrication of the story and stuff. Like she was really involved in the game. I don't know entirely the capacity.
It'll come.
It was a weird game. It was it made? It might have been made by the people who made Heavy Rain.
No, I think it was because it was a heavy story game. It was about a
you make decisions as you go through it, and it.
Yeah,
it's almost like more like a movie, but not.
But
she's doing major voice acting creds, and I mean I'm sure she's in more X-Men's.
Oh yeah,
I think she's already confirmed for Apocalypse. I believe
she's gonna be. I can't find which video game it is, but it is.
Well, people who play or care will know the game we're talking about. So that gets her in.
Oh, Beyond Two Souls.
Beyond Two Souls. Okay, yes.
Yep.
So I haven't actually played it, but it's daring, and it was kind of a big deal when it came out. So respect.
Yeah. Next up, we have J-Law.
Yeah,
Jennifer Lawrence.
Yeah, Jennifer Lawrence.
Which again, I
don't need to elaborate too much on that.
Yeah, she's the it girl right now. She was in Hunger Games. She's Katniss Everdeen, and she's Mystique. Although not for long. She's done with that.
Well, here's the only stipulation that might ruin this status is she doesn't need. She's one of those. It's like Natalie Portman. She doesn't need this anymore. Need this stuff. So it's going to be totally up to her whether or not, because like Sam Jackson, you just know that he loves all these nerdy things. Like he's a nerd.
They didn't ask him, by the way, to make him Nick Fury. He found out because he went into a comic book shop. Thank you, Sam Jackson, for being who you are.
Right. Jennifer Lawrence, on the other hand, I mean, I won't claim to know her that well, but
we'll see. We'll see.
I've never actually met her.
I have hope, honestly, because honestly, she took a risk by being Mystique.
Yeah.
Honestly, like back when Days of First Class was a gamble. So credit to her. Good job.
Before First Class started what may end up being the better X-Men trilogy.
Oh, thank God! I hope. No offense.
What?
No offense to... Well, no, just because of X3.
X3 is a
Just
big...
'cause of X3.
Yeah. Well, here's how bad X3 was.
I was about to say, no offense to X1 and 2, which were great.
Here's how bad X3 was. They had to make an entire movie just to make it so X3 never happened.
It would not happen.
Like, when you watch Days of Future Past, you're like, this is less of a movie and more of just erasing X3.
This is a we're sorry. Look at a cool look at a cool Quicksilver scene. Please forgive us.
Yeah, right.
For everything we've done.
Right. That's how bad X3 was. So
I'm the Juggernaut. Oh wait, this is totally stupid.
Oh man, you know what will make this cooler?
A British accent.
Apparently,
I'm supposed to be Charles Xavier's stepbrother.
Yeah, I was say saying bitch only makes you cooler if you're Jesse Pinkman.
Well, just turn into a joke.
Yeah, right. It's like, really? That doesn't make you sound hard.
No, you sound like a funny Brit. I'm going to giggle at you as you kill me.
You know what they were like? That line makes us not want to put you in any of the future X-Men, because I don't think he's been in another one since.
It's not his fault.
No, it's not. I mean,
unless he thought of that, then it is his fault.
By the way, Juggernaut is low-key an interesting character. On the surface, he's really not, but then I was like finding out that it's like really cosmic and weird. Like, they've gotten crazy with Juggernaut in more recent. Oh, yeah. So we should do a Juggernaut cast. No, I don't know.
Hey, dude, I'm actually down to like have a day. Like, all right, here's characters that you thought were
like Spectre
really...
you were talking about earlier, and like Juggernaut would be in there. There's tons of them. Okay, and we know who to get on.
Squirrel Girl.
We know which of our friends get on there. Moving on,
we have Benedict Cumberbatch. You can't say that name without sounding regal, because by golly, does he sound like he's from House Cumberbatch.
By golly, does he sound like he would be a dragon in possession of tons of gold.
Oh, yeah, or the heir to whatever kingdom we're in right now.
Yeah, right.
Or the prime minister.
Right.
British sounding name, it is.
I'd say, can you be the president as a British citizen?
I mean, he already played, I think his breakout role was he played Prime Minister William Pitt in Amazing Grace. That's when I first saw him. But he's Smog, he's Khan.
He's Smaug.
He's going to be Doctor Strange.
He's Sherlock.
Oh yeah,
Holmes.
He is Sherlock Holmes. If you ask any British person or anyone who watches British media,
because Robert Downey Jr. was the American Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah. Well, no offense to Robert Downey Jr., but I've seen both, and yeah, it's Cumberbatch.
I like the Sherlock Holmes, but I understand that it's kind of its own thing, more so than a true to the spirit.
Well, you know what?
It's
It's not true to it. The problem is Benedict Cumberbatch has a whole several series long TV show to prove to us that he's the Sherlock.
Right. Walter White would probably be slightly less celebrated in an hour and a half movie.
Oh yeah. And then after that we have Nicholas Hoult, who
this is surprising, and you might be asking, huh?
Who? He's the guy from Warm Bodies. He's Beast from
Zombies. So
yeah,
there you go.
He's from Jack and the Beanstalk or Jack the Giant Slayer, which it was a little nerdy, but it was more of just we're gonna make CG porn. It.
Hey, nerdy.
It is.
And then more notably, he's Beast.
Beast in X-Men, in the new X-Men trilogy.
And arguably, I mean, I hate saying this because I like Kelsey Grammer, but the better Beast.
Yeah.
Which isn't really Kelsey Grammer's fault. It's just they didn't really flesh that character out in those
It's X3.
movies.
We don't blame him for that.
Yeah, right. And which I'm stoked about because I've always, Beast has always been one of my favorite characters from the X-Men. And I mean, typifies the stereotype of I'm different because he looks like a frickin' beast, which is
some of those people like Wolverine. If he ever cut his hair and did some deodorant and didn't show
looked
his
fine.
flaws, he'd be
Right.
normal.
Right.
Beast is don't mind me. I'm just a giant blue furry Sasquatch.
He's kind of like the entire point of X-Men boiled down into one guy. And more recently, he was the War Boy with the blood bag.
If I'm gonna die historic on Fury Road. Headbutt.
Headbutt. Speaking of Fury Road. Tom Hardy.
Oh, yes.
I mean, this guy will be in the Hall of Fame. Bane, yes, that's his name. For some reason, he has to do crazy voices.
You know the name Pain, I guarantee the pain.
I'm coming after you, Bruce Wayne.
I'm smarter, faster, clinically insane. Shout out to Arl Knotts. That was the best.
That was the best. And then the sequel with Prepare yourself, Doctor, for the greatest Christmas party ever. Alright, yeah. We actually need to link that because it was viral for a while back, but maybe people forgot. So
glorious.
We'll give you guys a refresher.
Next.
No, Tom Hardy, though, he's also, you were saying, in Star Trek Genesis.
Yep, he's the clone of Jean-Luc Picard. That was one of his starting roles. He's in Inception.
Yeah, and that.
And he's Mad Max.
He's Mad Max. And hopefully he's in more Christopher Nolan movies, please.
Oh, it'll happen.
It'll happen.
Nolan's not
And
done
then,
yet.
I mean, beyond that, he's got tons of, like, legit acting
Watch
cred.
Locke.
Yeah.
Just go watch it.
Right. He will be Hall of Famer
Yeah.
material one day.
And another person I'm pretty sure is, like, getting there is Fassbender.
Yep.
Magneto. Prometheus. 300. Bet you didn't know he was in 300, did you?
I didn't know he's in... we actually need to go look it up, because... It's one of those things where if you haven't watched the movie since they've become notable, you know what I mean? Like, you didn't
you totally
recognize their
missed it. You're
face.
like, wait a minute.
Right.
By the way, I forgot, Sean Bean is also in 300, and Sean Bean is Odysseus in Troy.
So if he's in 300, we know he died.
Yeah, he died in 300. No, he made it.
Was he a Persian?
He made it in 300. No, he's the guy who got his eye gouged out and then left.
Oh my
Unless
gosh,
I'm
that was
mistaken.
Sean Bean?
I'm pretty sure. No, it wasn't. It was the guy who played Faramir. That's why I messed up.
So he's not in 300.
He's not in 300. I mixed that up. The guy who plays Faramir. Mixed that alive.
Oh, you know what? Yep.
Oh, by the way, Sean Bean dies in National Treasure, too.
Oh, by the way, he's in National Treasure?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
So, and then I, we kind of, we're
Fassbender, well, he's confirmed for something, Assassin's Creed. He's going to
gonna
be
Assassin's
the
Creed.
assassin.
So
in Assassin's Creed.
he's golden there.
They're making a Prometheus sequel. I mean, the guy.
He's David. He's
the guy
android.
will be in the Hall of Fame.
Yep. And then
he's
another...
he's the better Magneto, honestly. I don't know. I think he's more dynamic.
Don't ask me to make that distinction.
You're
Don't
right.
ask me to do that.
I feel like
They're two different
Here's how I
characters.
would say it. Ian McKellen is like comic book Magneto, perfect, like brought to life. Michael Fassbender is the Magneto you didn't know you wanted.
Well, it's the Magneto that doesn't like. He is the younger, charismatic,
Right.
Not so like. Because the other
There's more like dimensions to him.
He's
Because
not-
he's not like full blown.
He's not sinister.
Right.
Whereas McKellen is totally sinister.
You're right.
Now, McKellen can be warm and very charismatic too, but it's very much a experienced and honed charisma. And you realize very quickly that you're being drawn into a trap. Whereas
Right.
Fassbender, you're like, oh, I like him.
Yeah.
Wait, should I like him?
You're right. Seems
Very-
like a bad dude at sometimes.
Very quickly dealing with Ian McKellen's Magneto, you're like, oh, I should not like
You're
you.
right. It'll be like how Ben Affleck is the older, more gruff Batman. Which is Batman supposed to be the villain? Kind of. Who's the villain? That's what I'm having trouble figuring out.
Eisner.
Oh, you know what? We didn't even mention Jesse
happy.
Eisenhower.
I'm not happy about him being.
But
Luthor.
is he an up and comer? I mean,
No, I hope not.
But he was in Zombieland.
Zombieland, and he's
Was he? There's something else nerdy he was in. He's in that Facebook movie. I don't know if that doesn't
does not count.
But dude, he's Lex Luthor now.
And he's gonna be in this new kind of comedy spy movie, American Ultra.
I don't get Jesse Eisenhower's appeal, honestly.
People like him, but honestly, he's just that snarky little dickhead from high school that we all know and don't like.
It's funny because, if you had asked me whose career I thought would have more longevity, his or Michael Cera's, I would have thought Michael Cera, but boom, here Jesse Eisenhower is 5 years later, and where's Michael Cera these days?
See, depending on who you're going to say.
Michael Cera is just doing coke, apparently, and getting slapped by Rihanna is all he does.
You know what, man? If you're making all that much money, do what you want, I guess.
Right.
Honestly, depending on who you said, I was going to say let them be Lex Luthor, but no.
Which,
not
by
Michael
the way,
Cera.
speaking of, this is totally off topic, but going back to Superbad, I never really cared for Michael Cera, and for some reason when I first saw
Speaking of
Superbad,
which, Chris Evans was also in Scott Pilgrim versus the World. All right.
nerd
Yeah.
cred complete.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, out of Superbad, I remember I used to when I saw Superbad, I found Jonah Hill slightly annoying. Like, he had the funniest parts in that movie still, but since then Jonah Hill's probably one of my low key favorite comedians that's doing it right now.
So he still doesn't do it for me.
Really?
He really doesn't.
It seems to be that way. It's like you either love him or just he's not bad, but he's just whatever.
Yeah, I don't despise him. It's just that it's yeah.
Have you seen 2122 Jump?
I have. Yeah.
So, back to the nerd thing.
Oh, we have one left.
One
and honestly,
biggie.
He's pretty. I mean, he's on the precipice.
Came out of nowhere, kind of though. Honestly.
Oh no, he didn't.
Well, no, he's been around forever.
We knew. We knew from the days that he was a chubby office guy at the Parks and Recreation office.
I mean, he's been around, but in terms of the nerd it dude.
Oh man. Well, you know what? So it's Chris Pratt. In case you didn't pick up on our context clues.
Parks and Rec isn't your favorite sitcom of all time.
So he the story goes, when he got cast to play Zero Dark 30, he's like, "Oh, I want to be a Navy SEAL."
That's right, he was in that.
And the director's like, "Yeah, but you gotta lose weight." I don't know how to politely say it. He's like, "Oh no, it's fine. I'll be down there." And you got 6 months. He's like, "Oh no, don't worry about it." shows up at like 10,
chiseled out of marble.
8% body fat. Suddenly he's like athletic looking. Like, okay, cool. Well, we'd like you to be Star-Lord, Peter Quill.
Well, it's like he came back. He was always kind of like the goofball, and then he came back chiseled, and then all of a sudden they're like, "Wow, you're kind of really ridiculously good looking."
And you know, and then he gained weight back on to do Parks and Rec again.
Again,
and they're like, "Hey, can you cut more weight? Except this time more and with less time." He's like, "Yeah, no, fine." They're like, "Are you sure?" And they're like, "Yeah, no worries." Shows up to Guardians of the Galaxy, rock hard abs, just yoked out of his brain.
Like, they had to put him in a shower scene just because they're like, man,
well,
you worked hard for this. We gotta reward you.
We gotta
give him the money shot.
You gotta, something for the ladies.
Yeah, right. And then, apparently, in the biggest movie of all time, no, I'm just kidding. I think it's like third or fourth highest grossing movie at this point, Jurassic World.
The guy,
which I haven't seen, I'll be honest. Just the way it worked out.
It's good.
I'll see it one day.
Yeah, it's good.
I probably missed IMAX, which is the whole point of that movie is it looks beautiful.
See, all
CG porn is...
All the smack I talked to you about, you need to see that on IMAX, I didn't.
Yeah, right. I understand the IMAX, but in terms of, like, quality of film, it's like, I'm just gonna go watch Jurassic Park.
Well, see, those movies are hard for me to watch now that I'm a biology graduate, because I'm like, oh god, that's not, no.
Right.
That's not how it works. That's not how any of this works.
And wasn't, like, the whole reason that the dinosaurs started reproducing was because the mosquito that happened to pull the DNA... Oh, no, they, like, blended it with some frog.
Well, they gave him, like, amphibian genes, and amphibians can switch. The problem with that is, though,
but it's just
we don't have enough time for me to explain why that doesn't work.
How did they not realize that would become an issue? Like, if they're biologists that are apparently knowledgeable and talented enough to splice DNA to bring dinosaurs back to life.
Spoiler alert, in case anybody hasn't seen Jurassic World, like, stop listening for, like, 10 seconds. The thing's part raptor, and they don't deem to tell the people trying to use raptors to hunt the damn thing that it's part raptor.
Just bigger.
It's just a T-Rex raptor.
Right.
And so the raptors run up and start talking to it, and all these guys with guns are like, wait, something's wrong. And the guy's like, well, Chris Pratt's character's like, well, looks like they didn't tell us it's part raptor. The raptors just turn around. It's like, oh,
Major spoiler alert. By the way.
I said so. I
haven't seen it. No, I was kidding. I actually know how it ends.
I'm like, we talked about it.
But we don't go watch Jurassic World for the story. Like,
God, no. It's
honestly.
for the nostalgia.
Right.
I was a little kid for 5 minutes, and that was worth the ticket.
And that was worth it. I get that, too. It's just one of those things where, like, kind of came and went when I was busy. Honestly,
oh, yeah, dude.
You know?
Well, dude, no sweat there. That's just...
Right.
Yeah. It's something we can watch on a big screen.
So, that does it.
That's it.
I think that was pretty comprehensive, to be fair to us.
You know what? We'll task it to you, fair listeners.
Right.
Please let us know if we missed anybody.
Yeah, let us know.
Be nice.
We'll give them their shout-outs. And if you really enjoy this, we're going to do it again, but let us know what you want to do. We talked about composers. We had talked about writers. We talked about directors. And we'd also talked about video game developers.
Yep.
So people like Kojima, stuff like that, Hall of Fame. And all of them are exciting to us. So if one in particular would meet your fancy, let us know.
So as always,
like,
comment, subscribe, and take it easy.
Peace out, dudes.